What was the catalyst of joining Purple Patch? Why did you were in a coaching relationship before, that's right, yeah?
Yes.
And then you decided to jump ship, join Purple Patch. What was the motivation, if you can think back?
So I feel very grateful for the coaching relationships I've had up to this point. I had very solid coaching relationships that poured into me and gave me different foundational principles. At the close of last year, I was battling just overall underfueling, honestly, now that I've had some time to process it, and I needed to take a little bit of a break. So I took a break from my coaching relationship at that time, who is actually a friend of mine, and I just needed to kind of step back and get some insight into nutrition. I felt like at that point in time, I didn't only want to be a triathlete, I wanted longevity. As I'm in my 40s ish, I realized that I want to be competitive, but I want to have longevity. I want to be able to do lots of things. I hike with my children, although they're not really children anymore. I just didn't want to be injured. So my coach at that time and I both decided it was time for me to kind of take a step back and get some other insight. And I have been listening to your podcast for quite some time. So at that point in time, I thought I need some education surrounding what's going on with me. Not necessarily at the first call interested in coaching specifically. The first call was actually to Tiger to get insight into your squad. And just I wanted sort of a baseline program, but also how do I connect with this resource of knowledge? This is what I'm at. I am having this struggle. What do you suggest? And she was very, very helpful in connecting me with multiple coaches at Purple Patch. I spoke with Brad. The conversation with Brad led to conversations with Marcia that led to conversations with Nancy because she had an expertise in female athletes. So it was this combination of months of different conversations with different coaches that ultimately made me feel like this is the group I need to be with.
That's we're going to come back to that. I'm going to hold on that question, but it's a great journey in. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to go with them. It was actually these incremental ways that you met Tiger, and then you went on to Marsha, and then to Brad, and finally to Nancy. So I want to dig into, let's get into the nuts and bolts a little bit. And one of the key things that I want to talk to you about is the coaching relationship. And I think a lot of people, when they start a coaching relationship, anchor their perspective and mindset around the specific workouts. So I hire a coach, they give me the plan, I do the plan, I get faster. And that's sort of the sort of perspective. And I have never thought about coaching like that. And I want to dig into it today, particularly as, and you course correct me if I'm wrong or if I sort of am providing or projecting my point of view as we go through this. But from my side, and I obviously oversee the Purple Patch coaching, I'm managing and supporting the coaches. In the initial months of your coaching with Nancy, I would label as challenging. Is that fair enough? Would you resonate with that? Or
Yes.
And so can you share perhaps your early struggles on that side?
Sure. I think I came into the conversations with Nancy with a tall order in a lot of ways, in the sense that I didn't want someone just to put in my workouts. If I just needed workouts, I was getting workouts through the squad. I can just get squad workouts if I just need training peaks. And in my prior coaching relationships, I was flourish. I mean, I was getting faster. That wasn't my goal. So I wanted to know what else I was going to get from her. What was going to separate her out from other coaches that I'd had? What was she going to bring to
Your
my journey in a
Yeah.
way that was more than just, here's your workout, you turned it green, you didn't turn it green, moving on to the next. So I, at first, was very reserved, just try to let her come to me with what she was going to bring. So I was very quiet.
You wanted more, and you were very quiet, and it created. Was it almost? It wasn't misaligned expectations in a way. There was a communication gap there.
Yes.
That way, two ways. Is that way you would think about it? And you mentioned something before around turning the workouts green, etc. Now that we've gone through this journey together as a team and with you, I know the answer to this, but your prior coaching relationships were very metrics based, yeah? So they were anchored primarily around assessing the validation, the success, the failure, the challenges of the workouts by the metrics, and pretty much it. So explore that for me a little bit.
I think I am metric driven in
Okay.
general and I think that that probably has led coaches leaning in because I like to know, and this has been something Nancy and I have worked through, but I like to know I got it right.
Yeah.
So you wanted me to be here in this zone, I did it. That means if I successfully do all of the workouts in those zones, I'm going to be ready to go race day. So I built my belief and my trust a lot around feeling confident lining up on race day that if everything was green, then I was going to be good. So there was a lot of that actually I have found out over the past year. It was more of something I brought to the table than I would
Interesting.
say is something that a coaching relationship had brought to the table.
I've got to ask the question now, and I'm going to sort of skip to the end. Has that evolved? Because that is an incredibly challenging thing to emerge out of, where I always call it the pass fail, like check the box mindset, if you want to call it that. And I don't mean it in a diminishing way, but that's sort of obviously a part of your DNA in a way. It's your psychological makeup. That's how you've done it before, and you've been successful. So but you want something more. Do you feel like now, as we're going into 2025, that you've evolved not beyond that, but to a broader perspective now?
Yes, it is something it's still very challenging
Yeah.
for me. I have learned that it can be shackling on both ends of low end, high end. I still like ranges and there's still importance to them, but I've gotten to be where I am more upfront about how I'm feeling and know that it's okay to adjust the metrics based off of how I'm feeling as I'm trying to navigate this 40-ish life. The 40s come with a different set of things for men and women, but definitely for women, and having a relationship where I can say, and I can allow myself to say,
Yeah.
this is how I feel. What does that mean for our workouts? Instead of here are your workouts, because I like to just know. I wanted the whole week in Training Peaks and then look at it, and then I would maneuver everything around because I wanted to make sure she wasn't going soft on me. And if I said I'm not feeling great or I'm feeling however, that then she would dial it back, and that's not me. I'm going to go all out all of the time. And so I would play Tetris with things a little bit. Like I can
Okay.
so I
You're
had
trying
to
to
learn.
work the system
Yes,
to get
and
to where you want
where
it.
I
No,
wanted to
yeah.
be. So it has evolved in the sense, in lots of ways, in that in the coaching relationship of figuring out how to dial in my own self, how I feel. I'm the kind of person that if you ask me how I feel, it's always fine.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. I'm going to make it. But that's not going to help very much. It's not going to help Nancy know how to coach me better or to get the most out of me, not only in sport, but also in other avenues of my life where I was coming in short from fatigue and lots of other things. So it's been a gradual process of trusting if I tell her how I feel, she's still going to design the workouts to get the most out of my body where it is. And I still will be able to do and chase after the bigger goals that I have. But it's hard for me to not look at it. But but it is coming along, and I'm developing other adjectives other than fine.